Welcome to Esther's Universe. It's a magical place full of courage, creativity, and joy. It's where anything is possible as science and woo-woo come together to teach you how to step into your power and raise your vibration so together we can heal the collective and make a positive impact on the world. If you love the pod, please share it and enjoy. Hello, welcome to the pod. I am so fucking excited about this episode. I was on my morning stomp and just thinking about it like constantly, and I basically started like power walking home because I was like, I have to fucking talk about this. We're going to talk about the collective consciousness and how that relates to quantum entanglement. So if you've ever had like, if you've probably heard about the collective consciousness, and you've probably got like some general idea of what that is, or some of you might know exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm going to just go over it all and piece it all together for us. So this all came through as a download for me. And it was kind of like, I had bits and pieces of information, bits and pieces of things I'd learned from others, bits and pieces of things I'd experienced myself. And I guess it all just like came together and blasted into my head as this download that the collective consciousness and quantum entanglement are entirely related. And I was like, okay, cool, but how? And then over the last like couple of weeks, that information has been forming for me for more clarity so I can talk about it to you. Because it was like one of those things, like I've lived this and I've been doing this, but didn't quite have the understanding or language of what I was doing. It was just like an internal knowing, like a claircognizance sort of thing. And now I can bring it into the 3D world and make it make sense for myself and others. So I want to start this off by saying that we are all obviously energetic beings. We're more vibration than we are physical matter. So if you imagine there's a box and inside this box is 6 atoms. And these atoms are just these little tiny dots and they're vibrating, just like in between the atoms. So they're all spaced out. In between the atoms is nothing. It's space. It's just big, huge gaps between these little tiny dots. So if you take that visual and expand it into your human form, or just anything in the world really, because it's all just energy vibrating, think about the fact that we are more space than we are the actual particles that form our physical existence. We are more of the waves, the electromagnetic waves vibrating between the particles than we are the physical matter. So we're constantly vibrating in the direction of how we think and how we feel, like what we say, what we do, like our subconscious, all of that. And so then when we become aware of the fact that it's within our power to change how we think and we feel, we start to really like shed light on the depths of our being, of like who we are, everything that we've ever experienced, like the subconscious beliefs that we hold, the habits that we hold, that kind of thing. So we learn things about ourselves that we might never have like known before turning on the light. Like some people go a whole lifetime without knowing the depths of who they are, right? But if you embark on this like awakening journey, like let's just call it like your consciousness awakening, you're becoming like so aware of everything that is in your shadow that could possibly be in the way of you just creating whatever reality you want and manipulating the energy and the vibration in your physical world into something that you actually would love to live in. So as we take like an old feeling or thought or belief and we transform it into a new belief or a new feeling or a new thought, one that suits the direction that we want to go in, we're literally changing the frequency that we vibrate at. So let's just say something shitty happened to you. And then you go, okay, this shitty thing happened. It really hurt, made me really sad. There's XYZ emotion associated with it. Instead of going, this is something that happened to me and my life is a result of that thing that's happened to me and it can't be better because this happened to me and poor me. No offense, but instead of doing that, if you go, okay, what are, obviously feel the feelings of it first, but then go, what are the lessons? Or you can do it in the moment if you want. I do this sometimes in the moment. It depends on where you're at with this stuff. But you can go, what are the lessons that are within what I experienced? How, if I was to meet someone down the street and they were like, oh my God, I'm going through this, if I was to go, oh my God, same, and instead of just co-trauma dumping and them dumping trauma and me also dumping trauma and neither of us getting anywhere but feeling quite related to each other, which is still really nice. But if I was to go, okay, instead of trauma dumping my experience, how would I frame my experience to show them a pathway to the other side of it? Right? So take the shitty thing that happened to you and go, if I was to use this as an example to help someone else who's in a similar thing, to shine light on the path in front of them, making their life easier. You're turning around and you're using an experience that happened to you and you're transmuting it from pain into this loving feeling, like you're turning it from pain into power. And this power is like, you're directing that power into service of another person, into the collective. And that's a really beautiful thing to do. And when you do that, when you're transmuting the energy of the thing that happened, the emotion, the feeling, all of that, and you're turning it into something you can use to help someone else, you become quite grateful for it. So you've transmuted pain into gratitude, which then in turn becomes abundance. So how incredible is that? So this, by doing that transmutation of experience into awareness and into love changes the vibration, changes your vibration, changes your frequency. So then there's vibrational matches. I want to be there. I'm inspired by that. Or that person does something that I really love and I want to do that too. You energetically, intentionally match yourself with the vibration of what that scenario is at and you focus on it. And by focusing on observing that reality as if it is your current reality, you are quantumly entangled with that reality. There's a gold cord between you and that version of you who's living where you want to live or experiencing what you want to experience. And as you focus on it, bringing how you feel in that reality into how you feel in this reality, you are observing that reality, collapsing the electromagnetic waves into matter, into particles, and then creating that reality as your current life. And this happens however it happens. You can't control how it happens. That's up to the universe. The collective consciousness is essentially everyone is in agreement of the reality that we perceive. So currently we're observing a reality where there's lots of we have to work really hard to get what we want in life. We are collectively quite burnt out and stressed. Everyone's hustling. There's a lot of war and famine going on in the world. People are feeling a little bit like that we're just in an apocalypse, that kind of thing. And so we all share the same view of the world. We all share in the same reality in a collective sense. We also all have individual realities that we perceive within that, but the general collective agreement is that the world is hard and not nice, with glimmers of happiness and hope sometimes, but majority of it is hard and not nice. So that's the main collective agreement, which is the current collective consciousness. So basically the current collective consciousness that we're in has a massive absence of love. And this is quite low vibrational. So it's let's just say everything is made with love. Let's just say the universe is energy, and with the frequency of love, everything exists and is created. There is not actually evil in the world. There is an absence of love in certain areas. So maybe someone who has had an absence of love their whole life will grow up and perform some crime activities or whatever. That person isn't evil. They have an absence of love, right? So the world collectively right now is experiencing a large absence of love. And we need to change that. It doesn't mean that love doesn't exist. It's still everywhere. Everything is made from love. It's just that people aren't perceiving that reality. They can't see it, feel it, experience it, that kind of thing. So to raise the collective consciousness, we're all needing to individually observe a new reality so that together collectively we can agree that there's balance, there's love, there's rest, we attract, we don't chase, there's community, people are helping each other, we're not rushing everywhere, we've got plenty of time to help others because we ourselves are not burnt out. If we individually change our personal reality, our personal way that we observe the world into that. And that becomes like how we exist on a subconscious level. It just becomes our new way of living. If we all individually do that, then we will all collectively see this new beautiful world, this new way of living, before it's even physically manifested. But if we all energetically shift into that place where there is an abundance of love, not an absence of it, how quickly would the world change? Massively, massively. So then the collective consciousness would be a high frequency, very love-filled place. And the majority would agree on that. And it's not to say that like literally every person on this planet would get to that place, but the majority of people need to shift into that. Or I just sort of kind of heard like my future self being like, yeah. So it's like, there's a possibility here that's coming into my head right now. If not the majority of people shifting, at least all of the light workers raising up into their power, raising themselves up into this frequency and holding and maintaining enough power between them to shift the energy, even if not by the majority of people, but through sheer force of power in a really good way. So it could be either of those. Could be other things. I don't know. We'll see where we end up. Anyway, so then... yeah, so we need to observe the new reality before it's in our physical realm for it to actually manifest. So we need to sort of like, this is essentially the same thing as like be the balance and love that you want to see. You be that, and then it eventually becomes your reality. So then the quantum entanglement side. Now I had to like write notes down of this because while I have this like innate inner knowing of quantum entanglement, expressing it in the 3D is something I'm still wrapping my head around. So I wrote notes down of how I see it all and how I perceive it all, and we'll just go with that. All right. So quantum entanglement is like kind of famously described using Schrodinger's cat in a box theory, which I'll quickly brush over, but I'm not actually going to use that theory to explain it because I think it's quite morbid and confusing. We'll use like a different analogy. But generally there's a cat in a sealed box. So like we can't see the cat in the box. We just know that there is a cat in a box. And there's a quantum device that can detect the state of the atoms that are in there making up this cat. The atoms have a 50-50 chance of being decayed or not. If the quantum device detects decay, a vial of poison will be injected to kill the cat. And if the quantum device does not detect decay, the cat lives. Superposition is a term used to explain the time when neither reality is yet observed and both are true until they're observed. So the cat is in the box and it is both alive and dead at the same time because both are true until it's observed, and then this reality is collapsed. The energy, the electrons, the waves are collapsed into particles and create matter, which is then the reality that you're observing. So I'm going to describe it my way, which I wrote down. So quantum entanglement in Esther's brain is where there's a coin. Let's say there's a coin and it's continuously spinning on its side. And it's kind of like, when a coin is spinning so fast, it's almost like it looks like a sphere, like it's just a blur. And you can't see heads or tails. It's just spinning. So until you observe one side, it's currently both. This is the thing that I just said before. It's called superposition. So both potentialities could be true. Both have, there's a 50-50 chance of it being heads. There's a 50-50 chance of it being tails. So let's just say tails is your current unchanged life, your reality that you currently live. And heads is the new, better life and reality that you want to attract in, that you would like to live. Let's just say that heads resonates at frequency A and tails resonates at frequency B. Currently, the things that you think and you say and you do and how you feel are a frequency match with tails. So your current existence, let's just say your current existence is frequency B, and you are in alignment with the tails side of coin, which is your current reality. Because this is what you're used to and everything, it's really like, let's say the coin is spinning, and it's easy for you to observe the coin as tails. So then it stops spinning and it comes to a wobble and it lands down on the table revealing tails. And it's the same life that you've always lived, and you are quantumly entangled with tails because your frequency match, your frequency B, how you think, how you feel, what you say, what you do, all of that is connected energetically to the tails side of the coin, quantumly entangled like that. So then let's say you want to observe heads. You have a desire or an intention to observe a better reality. You want to create a new life. So then that desire starts the coin spinning again. So the coin is spinning, it's both heads and tails. It has potential, a 50-50 chance of being either. It's currently neither. It is in superposition. And it's spinning, spinning, spinning. And so let's just say you want to tap into frequency A so that you can entangle yourself with the energy of your new reality, with the head side of the coin. So then let's say you enter a meditative state. And in that meditative state, you observe this amazing reality and it feels incredible. Like you literally feel the excitement of it in your chest, in your heart, in your gut. You maybe are emotional about it. It feels so nice. You see it clearly, or if like the visuals aren't your strong suit, you have this sense of it and you feel it clearly. And in that time, what you're doing is aligning your vibration in your body and in your brain with the head side of the coin, with frequency A. You are now becoming, in that moment, frequency A. So you've observed that better reality and you've allowed the feelings and emotions of that better reality into your body. And this aligns your physical frequency with the frequency of head side of the coin. So once your intention, which is to have a new life, a better life, and your frequency A, align together, the coin will stop spinning, it'll come to a wobble, it'll drop, revealing heads, which is the new, better reality. And you can observe that reality until it becomes your physical manifestation of the life that you live. So your current reality becomes entangled with frequency A on the head side of the coin, and you got to consistently align with the frequency of frequency A. So you want to spend your days with focus on aligning your thoughts, feelings, actions, like what you think, say, feel, and do, with the vibration that you felt when you observed the head side of the coin. Right? So you want to be in alignment with the head side, with frequency A, with the better reality. Now, it's not to say that you have to constantly be in this state of hyper joy and excitement and with tears in your eyes, which, that sounds fun and amazing, but we're actually quite neutral beings. So we experience these feelings, but at an everyday state, if you're balanced and neutral, that's okay. You just want to make sure that you're not in a place where you're allowing yourself to spiral into the frequency of frequency B on the tail side of the coin, reinforcing that reality, because then you will, by observing that reality, collapse matter, the particle, into matter and create that reality. So what we're doing is we are observing the reality of frequency A on the head side of the coin, and as we observe it, the electrons, the waves, collapse into particles, which is matter, and then that reality starts to form. So it's about consistency of holding your frequency in alignment with the reality of where you want to go via quantum entanglement, because you're feeling it. You can see it, you can feel it, all of that. Now, hang on. Right, yeah. So an electron is observed. So atoms, all energy, everything that we're made of is waves. And as those waves are observed, they collapse into particles. And as they collapse into particles, however you view them is the way they collapse into particles, if that makes sense. So the constant intentional alignment of your frequency with the frequency of your desired life acts as the observation of the electrons, the waves, and then collapses the superposition, the spinning coin, into matter, where it drops onto heads, causing the better reality to manifest as your everyday main reality. Does that make sense? So the coin's spinning. It's neither heads nor tails. It's both heads and tails. There's a 50-50 chance that it will be either. And how you observe it is what it will be. So if you choose to observe the spinning coin as landing on heads, it will land on heads. If you choose to observe it on tails, it'll land on tails. Now let's say you've chosen heads, it lands on heads. It could end up spinning again, but what you're going to do is keep focusing every day as much as you can on heads. How heads feels, what heads looks like, what actions does someone take to observe heads. And then eventually, heads becomes your main observation. If that makes sense. So then how does quantum entanglement relate to the collective consciousness? The majority of humans are unaware of this sort of situation that they're in where they can actually energetically control the outcome of their life. Like obviously there's things that are out of our control, but like how we choose to look at them, how we choose to observe them is what creates the following moments in our reality kind of thing. So there's so many people out there where all they know is that life is hard, people are mean and rude, and we have to work hard to get to the top and everyone else can just go get fucked, like that kind of thing. This is a reality that most people observe. So they're collapsing electrons into particles, creating this reality and reinforcing it. They're observing tails as the coin is spinning. So every time the coin spins and they observe tails, like in every present waking moment of their life, they're observing tails, then those electrons, those waves collapse into particles, creating matter, which is what we observe here in the 3D. And that's the reality. And then things happen like, oh, I'm so unlucky, I always get caught in traffic. And then the person just always gets caught in traffic. And they're like, I knew it. Of course I'm caught in traffic. This always happens to me. And they're just like reinforcing it. Oops, sorry, I just hit the microphone. So if one by one, individuals realize that they have the power to change their own life and perceive and observe a new and better reality before it's in the physical realm, soon the majority will all be observing the love and the community and the connection. And this becomes the new collective consciousness. So what we focus on is what we create. Do you know what I mean? So like, it's almost like the awakening process in itself is people coming to this realization of aligning frequency, tuning your frequency to match in every present moment as much as you can with the life that you want to be living. And this can just be as simple as I stubbed my toe. Ow, damn it, I hate when I stub my toe. Or I stubbed my toe, but like, oh wow, look, there's a coin on the ground. Oh my God, I'm so grateful I stubbed my toe because now I have this coin. I'm so abundant. Like that's a random example, but that's a choice in a present moment to observe reality A, the head side of the coin. Does all of this make sense? So in summary, we've got the collective consciousness agreeing to observe tails, our current reality, and we want to individually get people to the point where they are able to believe that they can actually change their reality and live in that reality before they can see it. And as each person gets to this point, or each light worker gets to this point of like, okay, cool, I'm constantly in this dance with the universe. I'm constantly creating my reality in every moment based on how I'm thinking, feeling, what I say, what I do, all of that, how I react to things, the choices that I make. I'm constantly creating that reality. And so when each individual person gets to that point, like as if we're going to choose to keep looking at a shit reality, like we're just not at that, like, I mean, you couldn't take me back to look at a shit reality. Like, yeah, obviously, like, I don't know what the future holds. Maybe there's versions of me that slink back into that kind of thinking, but I just feel like that's so highly unlikely now that I'm at this point of constantly creating my reality with the universe best I can, while also like nursing myself out of the old reality. So like the awakening process for me anyway has been a series of finding like the good in all the bad things that have happened to me and releasing my identity from being tied up within them and just turning it into like part of my story instead of being like who I am. It's just become like this culmination of lessons and life experience to get me to where I am today, where I can like relate to people and stuff like that. And then within that, I'm undoing the programming that was kind of put into me from birth, which is that we all observe the tail side of the coin. So like that's quite a tricky process because our brains and our subconscious are so heavily wired. Like once you have laid down the neural pathways to believe a specific thing, it takes conscious effort and intention to turn, the focus elsewhere and lay down new neural pathways and let the old ones disintegrate and kind of grow over and disappear. So that's the process of changing your subconscious beliefs. So if you believe that you have to see something, you have to see all the steps in something to achieve it, then that's a very tails side of the coin way of thinking, and it's quite limiting, right? And so like if you fully believe that and then someone says to you like, hey, there's actually a new reality that you can focus on the head side of the coin, but you can't see the head side of the coin in your physical life just yet. You have to observe it energetically through like a meditative state or through the intentional choice in each moment to lift yourself into the energy that matches that side of the coin. And then in time, it just starts to manifest. It just starts to become your reality as your subconscious brain starts to fully believe it. But if you say that to someone who's like hell-bent on like, no, what you see is what you get. I have to control every step. I have to know everything. I have to plan my entire life. I have to none of that's real, all that sort of stuff. Like that person's going to have a hard time being able to just suddenly go, yeah, I can observe a new reality. I'm not saying it's impossible to just switch like that. But for me and my awakening process has been intentionally finding all of the areas of my life that I was hell-bent on this not being possible and turning it into a focus where all of this is possible, if that makes sense. And that kind of process has showed up as all kinds of different things, like just stuff that I was taught when I was a kid, experiences that I've had. Like I found all of my subconscious beliefs and programming, and I'm still looking for them, but now I'm at a point where like most of the big ones are out of the way and I'm fine-tuning, like really fine-tuning. Like Sonia and I were on the phone yesterday and I said something and she was like, I can kind of hear in what you're saying that like, I think you actually mean this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, wow, that's cool. It's like I said something and I was pretty much on the right track. But I was like, and then you got like this microscope out and you were able to hear in the frequency in my voice that I wasn't quite aligned with the frequency of my most authentic higher self. And she was just like, holy fuck, that is what's happening. And I was like, yeah, like I do that all the time. Like I'll notice something in myself and I'm like, oh, hang on, this doesn't feel right. There's this tiny little frequency dial that I need to make that just shift my energy slightly more into alignment with my higher self, into authenticity. And as I do that, like it's this very intentional choice to just shift my energy into alignment with the head side of the coin. And so now I feel like I live in this whole other world. Sonia does too. We talk about it all the time. Like it feels like the rules of the old world don't apply, which is really strange. It's just so strange. It's like I got to remember that I'm still, and it's like I'm not trying to avoid it. Like being on earth and in our bodies is an essential part of connecting up into your higher self and into the universe. Like you can't just decide that Earth's no good and you want to fucking get out here. Like that limits your growth and your expansion and your spiritual connection so much. Like you got to integrate it. You got to be in the human experience, in the life, all of that. So I'm in the human experience, but I'm in it in the sense of like the new world of like the kind of earth that we're bringing in with the rise of the collective consciousness, where certain matters of like the, current patriarchal capitalist society that we live in don't really apply. And so then I have to remember, I'm like, oh, wait, hang on. Like my physical reality is still, even though it's vibrating at the head side of the coin. So what I experience in my daily life is in alignment with the head side of the coin. My physical reality is still kind of showing up as the tail side of the coin. Not entirely, like huge things are shifting and changing, but in some ways, yes. And so but my focus isn't on that. It's like I can't even see it. It's like I'm just not observing that side of the coin unless I literally have to and pay my rent or make sure there's a direct debit set up for something or make sure my tax is getting sorted or whatever. Or, you know, like don't accidentally speed because you're not paying attention. Like come back into your body, pay attention, all that sort of stuff. So like there are moments obviously when I'm still in the old way of being because I'm still very, very much here, very present within it, and understanding of the system that we're in. And I see, you know, I see where we're at. I see the different levels of privilege and suffering. I see the change that needs to be made and everything. But what I see is before we can shift into all that change, individuals need to get to this point where they're able to observe the new reality and sit in that frequency and hold that frequency. Because as you hold it, as you observe that reality, you keep observing head's side of the coin, and you keep observing and feeling frequency A, eventually those waves start collapsing into matter and creating your physical reality. If that was like really confusing, sorry. It's a confusing topic and it's weird to explain. But like, I hope that by me saying this, it kind of ignites some like deeper inner thing that's inside you. Cause like, I feel like we all know this. Like we all know the same shit deep down. We are all the universe experiencing itself down here on earth, like with different kind of purposes, but the same kind of common goal. And we all have the ability to access the same information. It's just clearing the channel between your human self and your earth self and your universe self so that energy can flow in this beautiful resonance between the two. So it's like literally everything that I ever tell you, you already know. The only differences are my personal experience and like the way that I perceive the thing, the way that I express my perception of that reality out into the world, the way I create, like all that stuff. Like everything that I tell you comes through my unique energetic signature of experience and expression and all of that. But the general foundations of information, you all have access to as well. And deep down, you all already know. Which is why so much of the time, like I'll say something and you'll be like, yeah, like I fucking know. I know that. But it just needed to be like triggered and pulled up. And like by my voice coming out into the ether and becoming something, I'm speaking this frequency out there and it's going into your ears. And it's like turning this kind of this spinning coin where you both know the thing and you don't know the thing. And then it lands on the side of where you do know the thing and it plucks it up and brings it into your awareness. And you're like, I fucking know that. Like you do, because you've got access to this information as well. It's just that your channel might not be as clear yet. Or maybe you've lived this a million times already at different frequencies, but your current frequency, you haven't observed it from where you're currently at in life. And so I'll say the thing and then you're like, ah. And then like the you at this new frequency that you're at feels like you've heard it for the first time, but then your old frequency is like, no, I've done this before. I've literally done this. I've lived this. And so it's this weird feeling of like, but I know that. But I feel like I didn't know that. Like, oh my God, how did I not know that? And it's like, don't beat yourself up about that ever. And it doesn't mean that like you don't need to block the information and be like, no, I already know, blah, blah, blah. Absorb the information at your new current frequency because you're experiencing it essentially for the first time here on earth at your new higher consciousness. Doesn't mean you don't know it. You still know it. You're gaining more from it now again. It's going into your bag of knowledge and experiences even more, creating more wisdom. So that was fun. I really hope it made sense. Sorry if it didn't. If it didn't, I'll just try again in the future. But anyway, that is the goal. It is to individually get yourself to a place where you can align your frequency with the reality that you want and fine-tune it. Notice when you're not in it in the present moment. This is why presence is so important. Because when you're in your presence, like you just are the universe experiencing life in this very moment. And you can make whatever choice you want. Your choices are completely up to you. The universe can't make you choose. You have the power to choose. But you also can't fuck it up. You'll still get to where you need to go. You'll still learn what you need to learn. Right? So like, whatever you choose in that moment, consider choosing a reaction or a direction or whatever that is in alignment with the frequency that you want to be at. And also consider that balance is the way that you'll be able to maintain holding that frequency. And also keep in mind that like the new world that we're bringing in is all about balance between the feminine and the masculine, balance within your daily life as a human being, balance in every way, in everything. So if you're like, I'm hustling and rushing around and life's hard and everything's difficult, rah, 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 a choice that you could make would be like, well, how could I bring more balance into my life? Do I have to do all those things that I'm doing? Do I even care about any of them? What do I care about? What would my future self be doing? And what tiny little incremental steps can I make in my life to get me to the point where I'm in alignment with my future higher self? Okay, that's all. Go to the socials, Esther's_universe, if you want to follow me there. TikTok is where I shine. I don't really like Instagram. I need to change that. It's my own problem. I just don't vibe it. I find it really fucking boring. No offense. It could be because I follow like 3 people, and no, those people are not boring, and I follow like 100 people, not 3 people, but I choose not to like just spend my time on it, because it doesn't matter how many people you follow now. Like if you don't follow people, it will just show you random stuff. But when I'm watching stuff on Instagram, I feel like there's a big veil of fear between what the person's saying and what needs to come out of them. And I think it's because Instagram has, for the last over a decade, been such a place of, projecting the life that we think that we should be living versus the life we're actually living, and not in the way of observing the reality. I mean, for some people, they're putting up on their Instagram the reality they want to observe to then attract in. But for most people, Instagram is a place where they're like trying to hide who they are. And that's a totally different energy. And so even if they're like, I want to help people and I care about this, they're still like hiding something about who they are. And I feel like that's the collective on Instagram in general. Again, not everyone, but yeah. So, and then I need to be the change that I want to see. So I need to take my energy on Instagram and bring this fucking lightning bolt of authenticity there. And I'm sure there are other people who feel the same way. Like Florence Given, she brings a lightning bolt of authenticity to Instagram. She is so much fun to watch and so authentic. And that is beautiful. So I need to get over my Instagram blocks and bring my version of authenticity to Instagram. And the more people who do that, the more Instagram will become, a way better tool. TikTok, when you're on the right side of it, is just super authentic. There's so many people who are just being themselves, talking about what they believe in, sharing their knowledge, and it feels like I'm on this group Zoom call with a bunch of other light workers, and it honestly feels like we go to the same meetings with the universe and get the same kind of information, but we then express it out into the world in our own unique ways that align with the people that are in our lives, if that makes sense. So I love TikTok for that. And I feel like I've used TikTok as a place to share my knowledge in bite-sized chunks to help people progress along their path, whether it's self-development, creativity, spirituality, whatever. I don't really niche down there. And I just get to practice being myself as much as I can while I do that. And the more I practice aligning with my authenticity, and the more I meditate and manifest this incredible, energetic, beautiful storm circulating around me and everything I'm doing, the more I see my TikTok growing and the views going up and all that sort of stuff. So I'm I do need to bring that energy over to Instagram and focus my attention on it, because I care about reaching a lot of people, not because I want everyone to pat me on the back and be like, good job, but because I want to do the exact thing that I was just talking about, where I inspire people to get to this point of choosing their new reality. And there's so many different ways you can do that, because someone has to be inspired to want to do it. Do you know what I mean? Just telling someone that they can have a different life isn't enough. They have to mind, body, soul be like, I want that. And so what we're doing as people who are on this path of self-development and spirituality and everything, is we are taking energy from the universe down into our human body and expressing it outwardly into our energetic field and out into the universe, into the world around us. And then other people are feeling that and entangling with it, being like, oh, I feel so good. When I talk to someone and I'm interacting with them, my energy is entangling with theirs, and they're getting a taste of what it feels like to be in this new reality, and they're like, oh my God, I want to do that. I want what she's having. And they had this like inspired feeling inside them of like, yes, more please. And then they'll be along my path for a while. And then maybe they'll be like, yep, sweet, I got everything I needed from her. And they'll leave my path and float onto someone else's, whatever. So, and it's not just light workers that are doing that. We're just doing it quite consciously. Like, you know, there could be someone who's not spiritual at all. I mean, they are obviously, but they're not aware of the fact that they are. And they're like, you know, maybe they're a painter and they're expressing all this stuff down from the universe into their art, and people like deeply resonate with it and they feel it and they see it and they go like, this art just makes me want to fucking live a better life, you know? Like the same thing's happening. It's just we're doing it very consciously. And the more consciously you do it, the more you project that energy out and far and wide and connect with people. So, yeah. All right, ramble over. I love you so much. Let me know if you love this ep. Please give me a 5-star review. It helps the pod. It helps me be seen by more people. And I would love your help in getting all this information out there so that I can, help raise the collective consciousness. Cool. Okay, bye.